Welcome to everyone once again. Welcome to all Cameroonians in the country and across the globe. This is Road to Etoudi, and I am your usual host, Mimi Mefo Newuh. As the program's title already describes, it is Road to Etoudi, and we are scanning through, zooming in on those who matter as far as the upcoming presidential elections in Cameroon is concerned. We are having all the voices, all the candidates come on board to speak their minds, display their visions, explain and describe what they see in Cameroon and the changes that they want to bring. So far, the stakes remain very high. Elections Cameroon published the list of 13 candidates vying for post of president. But next week, the stakes will even be higher as the Constitutional Council will be ruling on the various litigations that were filed at that particular institutions based on the various opposition party candidates who were happy or unhappy with the decision of Elections Cameroon just a few days ago. But the discussions continue. The stakes are still high. Who is possibly capable of replacing 92-year-old President Paul Biya, who has been in power for 43 years? And what are the various candidates who are coming in? What do they have to offer? That is why we continue to talk to the various political parties, members representing the different political parties and their flag bearers, asking them what their vision is for Cameroon. And one of those contenders that we will be having today on Road to Etoudi is aspiring to bring change to Cameroon, and his name is Ateki Seta Caxton. He was born in 1986. I think he's just about 3 or 4 years older than myself. And that's 4 years after President Paul Biya had been ruling the country. Ateki is a household name in Cameroon, particularly in the civil society world. On Friday this week, he presented his political vision rooted in a bold philosophy of development and accountability, which also recenters local agencies as the new reference for development. In today's program, we'll discover his vision for Cameroon and how he intends to address some of the challenges, the socio-political, economic, the crisis in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, the Boko Haram crisis, bad roads. We will be finding out what he has to offer differently. But not just that, we'll also get to know him beyond the former executive director of New Seta, a civil society platform that has touched many lives. It's a civil society platform that he has been running for many years. So we will be having him just now. We can see him as he was having a meeting this week, particularly on Friday, where he was detailing and explaining his vision to Cameroonians. He is one of the candidates who wants to unseat 92-year-old President Paul Biya. And Mr. Ateki is the presidential candidate running under the ticket of the Liberal Alliance Party, known in his French acronym as PAL, P-A-L. Mr. Caxton, thank you. I don't know whether I should call you Mr. Caxton or Mr. Ateki, but welcome to the program today.
Thank you so much, Mimi Mefo. I'm so privileged to be here speaking with you about the vision that we just launched on Friday. To say that you're the very first platform on which I am actually officially on to share this vision. I think for me it's a real honor, and I just want to thank you so much for having me on board.
The pleasure is ours as well. Like I said earlier, should I call you Mr. Caxton or Mr. Ateki?
You know, I think I connect more with Ateki because I can understand what it means. Ateki in my dialect means someone who fixes, someone who creates, someone who makes things. So it is probably something I understand. You know, we have Christian names. Caxton sounds good, but I don't really know what it means.
I understand.
Name. So I understand my father wanted to name me after the person who I think brought the printing press in the UK at some point. So Uh,
Oh, that's interesting. So he already had a vision that you could possibly be a leader in Cameroon. He saw that that was a
yeah,
good name for you. But Ateki is already a household name in Cameroon now. And for those who have not met you in person or even online, this is one of the candidates vying for post of president in Cameroon. And once again, Mr. Ateki, thank you for joining us. So you've spent so many years driving change from civil society of within the civil society in Cameroon and even out of the country. Why step into the political arena now when and why did you aim straight away for the presidency when many people are hoping that maybe you would have started as a mayor or a parliamentarian or something? Why go straight away for the presidency?
well, a young one is allowed to dream. But let me just say a little bit about my trajectory within the civil society. So I have been very involved in civil society work since 2013, when I created my organization. Even before that, I had actually volunteered with a women's organization that worked on different kinds of agendas concerning women. So reforming discriminatory laws in Cameroon, laws on civil status, laws on in the civil code, and so on. So forcing some advocacy work around adopting the but asking Cameroon to ratify the CEDAW, which is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. This is where it started. And then eventually I picked up on youth issues, but also was interested in governance issues. I, um, I actually started an advocacy that asked for the lowering of the voting age in Cameroon from 20 to 18. And the first time that this was really debated was in the National Assembly, was we who brought it there. I later on, wrote letters, personalized letters to 180 members of parliament, asking for them to support the initiative to lower the voting age in Cameroon. I've written to the presidency twice on the subject. But I mean, so far, this is something that started 2016, but we've not had a change. We wanted the constitution to change from, so Article 2, Sub 3, and Section 45 of the Electoral Code, so that it can really drop down the voting age. I actually went on to get programs initiated for young people to get them trained on governance, leadership, entrepreneurship. And so today there are thousands of young people in Cameroon that have been trained through my organization. I'm looking at 10,000, as of now, because we have like a training, and then they go to their communities and train other young people as an obligation. So more than 10,000 today have benefited just from one program that I run called Repair. There is also advocacy work around, access to information. It's one of those challenges that journalists in Cameroon face today. Accessing information is a real ordeal for many people who want to get access to public information to see how the institutions are managed, how public resources are managed. There is this opacity that surrounds, government transparency, and so the absence of that law, the law on access to information, basically gives leeway for the different agents within the administration to choose to with a lot of discretion what they want to do when you ask for information. There is no obligation anywhere that gets them to provide information as an obligatory thing to citizens. The
Yes,
first level of
I'm
participation
sure that
of
most of
citizens.
this, I'm sure that most of the things you're outlining would certainly feature as a conversation unfolds because you'll be able to identify where things are going wrong and tell Cameroonians how you'll make them right or how you do it differently. I wanted to find out, you said you wrote to Elections Cameroon talking about certain aspect of the election laws that are governing the country, which to you are faulty. You also wrote to the National Assembly. Did you see any major change? And if not, I am assuming that you didn't. So why would you want to run for post of president when nothing changed at the level of civil society where you were asking for changes, just fundamental changes. Why would you want to run for post of president when you know that the election laws are not the best in Cameroon? What is motivating you to do that?
So, I think you just really painted a real picture there, a dire picture of why these kinds of transitions are necessary. Today there is a lot of talk also about that. We're not very well known within the political scene, and so we cannot really be able to make it like the other candidates. I'm saying, just making the case here now that civil society makes a lot of contributions to society in Cameroon. Civil society proposes laws like I did. We do advocacy work. We help people who are facing humanitarian challenges. But somehow this work, just goes under the radar and nobody really cares about it. I've worked in the civil society for 10 years, impacting more than 10,000 young people in Cameroon. But somehow people feel this is not as important as someone who has just spent a few years in the political scene. So I think maybe the winning thing is to transition into the politics because that is where you get attention and perhaps some visibility. But today, I think what really drove me to get into politics is I think it's just what everyone is experiencing. Our country is really in a very degraded state today. We have challenges relating to unemployment. Young people are suffering. Everyone basically is suffering. The roads are not practicable. Electricity supplies are erratic. Hospitals, instead of really, being places where people go to get themselves treated, they tend to be places where people just, not really get the optimal level of care that is necessary for their survival. So all of these kind of things are things that when you look at them, you're compelled to do something if you really care about society. And so for me today, I think making this run is not just a bold statement to say that we can contribute to make the changes at this level. If we had done them in civil society, we can as well do them within the political space. And actually, I think being within civil society and trying to effect these changes, and it has not really been very possible, as you quite rightly observed, then it gives us the obligation to find the best ways to go around the challenges, because the places of decision making are not in civil society. Civil society tends to be marginalized. We're not consulted sometimes on policy formulation issues. We're not even, sometimes the posture of the government towards civil society is suspicious.
And I'm hoping that if you are elected president in Cameroon, you will take into account what civil society actors are saying. But you were already getting into your plan of action.
Definitely.
Give us the headline. What are the top 3 priorities that you tackle in your first year in office?
So in the first year, I think we are looking at, I think in terms of the very urgent things to do, we have national reconciliation, which is a very important thing. I know nothing else can be done without the social capital, without actually building enough social capital that can be receptive to the other, financial capital or other kinds of development that people will be looking at. So first thing is to be able to try to reconcile Cameroon. Today, for example, you see the country is so ethnically inclined. People are so divided according to tribal lines, and it is really sad to see that some of our villages have been transformed into veritable Wuhan labs, where the COVID of tribalism is fabricated and exported, and many other people are just reducing and removing others from the scope of their empathy because they don't share tribe, they don't share the same geography, they don't share the same religion, or even age-wise. And I just want to use this opportunity to applaud my president, Celestine Biziki, who did what was unimaginable in Cameroon, where an elderly person in his 70s decided to place a 39-year-old, as the front runner, the flag bearer for his party in the presidential elections. I think it is something very remarkable. Second thing is this is a francophone in the center region, and a tone man actually placing an Anglophone, a young boy from Meta, from Bengui, on the presidential platform. I think this should be the way that politics should be conducted in Cameroon, so that we transcend this whole tribal color. Politics is colored by tribe a lot. I mean, even our some of our citizens who are in other international so-called civilized countries would actually sit from there, and I would say they will launch what I call intercontinental tribalistic missiles to nuke
Yeah,
the careers of
now that
fellow
you've
citizens.
mentioned the tribes and where you come from, Batibo, which is like the hotspot of the Anglophone crisis, we are now trying to look at your your strategy to address the conflict, which has been going on for we are almost 10 years now, and a lot of people have died. It's affected the educational system. It's now become a war between it's just a lot happening. The atrocities on both sides have not even been accounted for till today. There are so many people that have died that we are unable to tell till now. But I just wanted to find out, since you say you are from the Northwest region, precisely from Momo, if I'm not,
Bengui,
yeah, from
from Bengui.
Bengui. Have you been to Bengui? When was the
Yeah.
last time you visited Bengui, and what did you see when you visited Bengui?
Actually, it has been very challenging. When what you described about the crisis as we speak now, we've been lied to a lot. They've lied to us that the crisis things have returned to normal. They've lied to us that everything is okay, and that the Anglophone regions are back to to normal. But I was actually back home last year when my father died. Actually, I wasn't able to make it there, but I had to go, sometime last year because I mean, I had to see at least where he was laid and so on. So yeah, so I was back home last year. It was a very difficult journey to make. Always being concerned about your safety and security in a country that you call yours.
Mm,
And I'm thankful today that and I'm speaking like this with a lot of sadness in my heart because my junior brother, who just comes after me, has died, in this crisis, and it's in very painful circumstances. And this is one of the things that gives us the more reason to to fight that what we went through in terms of just the pain that we felt when we lost him,
mm,
and knowing that this is the same pain that different families are going through, losing loved ones, people just getting their homes burned, they're going on exile in Nigeria as refugees. All of these kind of things are not things that we want to continue in our country. I think people have suffered enough, people have died enough, people have lost, everything, livelihoods enough. And I think it's high time that we try to bring back our country. For me, I think that this challenge is a political challenge that comes from unresolved, unfinished business from the past. We have historical problems that have come with the changes that have happened, with the way that the original agreements were founded. And so today, I think there's some work of historical correction to be made. But I'd say that this is going to be done through a national dialogue. We have some ideas that we propose in our vision.
yeah, before we come to the proposals and the ideas, the only way for anyone outside the Anglophone regions, um, the only way for anyone who is from the Francophone part of Cameroon or even out of the country to understand the realities on the ground is from those who have the voice, from those who have the neutral ability to tell the story of the Northwest and the Southwest, read the current stories of the two Anglophone regions without being biased, without taking sides.
You're
And
telling it as
many people want to hear the presidential candidates speaking the truth and opening the wounds and being very honest and objective about what is happening on the ground. From what you have just discussed, except I'm wrong, you've not been there since the start of this year. Am I right? You've
Yeah,
not been
actually,
to your area since the start of this year.
it's been because I've done a lot of international travel. So I was in the UK just back in April. I was in South Africa. I've been so it's been and then working on preparing this run has made it a bit challenging to go down. But I was actually in Bamenda in November 2024. This is like a few months back. I mean 6 7 months back. I've been to Bangui too. Also, I mean, so this
Yeah,
it's
but the reality is that it's a difficult place to go now without
yeah, yeah,
planning,
I quite
without
agree with you.
strategizing how you'll be able to protect yourself and even protect your family and so on and so forth. That's the reality now in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. And we are expecting the candidates who are vying for post of president now, particularly those who are coming from the English-speaking regions, to tell the people that this is the reality. This is the truth. We cannot even go home because of how
We can
dire the security
it's
situation is. When it is this complicated, when we see how things are on the ground, what do you have to now come into the solutions? Where did things really go wrong to the point where people cannot even go to their hometown? People cannot even visit their localities. And what are you proposing if you are elected as president of Cameroon today? What would be your solution?
So, this is it's a crisis that is it's so complicated. I would tell you, if it were not complicated, it would not have lasted for this long. It's 8 years on since it started.
Mm,
What I've really proposed is that there should be a dialogue. Even if we have some ideas about how the form of state should be, I mean, being open to options like federalism, but this is not what I'm, foisting on Cameroonians. I want it to be something that emerges from whatever form the state takes. It should be something that emerges from a national dialogue, from a dialogue that occurs without preconditions, from a dialogue that is sincere, that is open, that is frank, that includes everyone who is a party to this conflict, and even third parties. We need to be able to get a very frank dialogue that resets our country. And one of the
mm,
things that I would like to just seize this opportunity to say is that, for too long, I mean, our people have actually abandoned, processes like this, like the election process, which is a very important entry point for change to happen. And in the past, there might have been, difficulties. They might have been reluctant to vote. But this year, I'm telling you, this year we have a chance. This year we have a chance. The things that people are asking for are not going to be given to us. Those things are won at the ballot box. I really want to say elections belong to the people, and our people should not turn their backs on this election. If they turn their backs on this election, we are going to get burned, and we will sit on our blisters for the next 7 years again. I really just want to plead on everyone in the Northwest and Southwest. Tell everyone in your life to really seize this moment. It's our chance to really be able to end this crisis once and for all, following the different political processes. We've tried to fight. It is
mm.
not taken us there. We've tried to do all kinds of things. Ghost towns, it has not taken us there. Let's try this. Let's give this moment a chance. Let's give this
Yeah,
moment a chance.
not just fighting and the ghost towns, but also the elections have been boycotted. And for the
Exactly.
number of times that the elections were boycotted, the CPDM won. It
Always
cannot be a
one.
conflict where
Always one.
the CPDM keeps being given that opportunity to govern. These were regions
Exactly.
that were controlled by different political parties before, even the opposition. Now the CPDM is in control. The same CPDM that is the root cause of the conflict. Probably that's something that you get to expatiate later, but I like that message, telling Cameroonians that that future that you're looking for, that change that you want to see, for the conflict to end, the decision is in your hands. I like that message very well. Yes.
Thank you so
So
much.
also looked at your program, you said 10 autonomous states in a federal model. So why not why did you decide to say that 10 autonomous states in your federal model and not the two-state structure that existed before 1972? Why did you decide to go for 10 autonomous states instead?
So, there is this is a proposal. It's a proposal. It is not like the final thing. A candidate should have some opinion on questions like this. It is a proposal that has to be made, and Cameroonians should know what I stand on. The points I stand on when it comes to this. But this is not cut in stone. I feel that the final form of state has to come from a dialogue process. This is really the very, very important thing to say on this. The final form of state is not what Ateki thinks about. The final form of state is what the people think about, and this is one of the things that I want everyone to know. The proposal I made is a proposal, at least some idea. Now, why did I make that proposal? It is because I feel that today the question is, it is 60 years on after independence, with a lot of interconnectedness, with a lot of different kinds of challenges. When we want to make a question, discuss a question like this, we must be able to also look at not just not just our regions, but whether the other Cameroonians also want to live in the same structures as they were before. What we hear on the ground is that Cameroonians want more, localized economic and political decision-making power. This is really what they want. And in the model that we're proposing, the idea is to make sure that people can have the power to decide locally on issues like road constructions, on issues like, access to hospitals, water, electricity. This is what we propose in what we call in our program, the minimum social package, that every locality should be endowed with the resources that can help them provide these basic needs for their people. And so we'll pass through a system where people can be elected. So this is a proposal that governors will no longer be appointed, but elected to be able to take charge of the development of their regions. And we're also thinking about involving the chiefs. The local chiefs are people who are very close. They are very, very close to their villages. But when a chief comes, at the end of the month, for a third-class chief, they earn 50,000 francs. The second-class chief earns 100,000 francs, and the first-class chief earns like 200,000 francs. Whereas their villages are wallowing in poverty and need. So you ask yourself, wouldn't it be better for these chiefs to be more involved in driving development from within their villages, rather than coming to get salaries? 50,000 francs. What would that really do in terms of furthering the development of people and easing
So
the
you're going to
hold
the payment of chiefs. You will not pay first class,
I even have
second class,
I even
and third
have
class.
a better proposal. The better proposal that I have is that we're going to expand the budget. The budget, from 15% right now, which is allocated for decentralization, we're going to make it to increase to about 20 or 25%. And now we're going to create a structure that unites all of the chiefs in Cameroon. This structure will be capable of sourcing for its own financing, but we can also endow the structure from the central state to be able to, now chiefs can be able to develop programs, village projects, and apply to this structure, and they can get funding to run programs in their villages. I am the vice president of one of my village association, and there are programs that we've run. You see local livelihood things like palm nuts, for example. Palm trees are aging, and oil production is diminishing. So we started a project to say, let's just make sure that we can get, to renew the palm trees that people have, so that they can actually in the next 2-3 years can have, palm oil as, in great supply, changing the seeds, changing going to, better yielding seeds and so on. Even making things like bitter cola, for example, which is it grows well, but today it's sold in our local markets. People consume it a lot. There are drinks that are made out of it. So people can actually get these local kinds of
even abroad in Europe, one bitter cola is £1 in the UK, and in Europe is more than €1. So that's a lot of money. That's almost I should say 800, 700, 800 francs for one bitter cola. But also, I wanted to find out from you: would you, still on the Anglophone crisis, commit on record to releasing political prisoners, those arrested within the context of the Anglophone crisis?
I actually have been to prison. I've been to prison several times. I've met, some of these prisoners. I've talked with them. I've been there. It's just that some of these things we don't mediatize them for, for any reason. We just do it because it's deontological. It's the right thing to do. I've been to prison several times. I've spoken to some of the people who were, in prison in the context of the Anglophone crisis. And
Mm.
I've heard them and I've listened to what they were saying. I even have a gift that was given to me by, Sisiku Ayuktabe in prison. He gave me a gift there when I went to visit them, the last time. But the idea is that they really have. I see people like Fongala, for example, an elderly man, sick and frail, in jail because of his political opinions. When I look at this, I feel that we need to be able to get to have some kind of conversation. Again, when people are complaining about the fact that things are not moving in terms of how the different components, the constituents of our country are accessing post-political leadership, accessing resources, are being represented in national, institutions. These are really genuine calls. In terms of how a linguistic problem has arose, it's a genuine call. And the kind of Cameroon that I'm envisioning is a Cameroon where we can be able to contemplate a form of community consensus that is devoid of demands for homogeneity. In a context that is this pluralist as ours, it is okay for an Anglophone expression to be considered a Cameroonian expression. It is
Yes.
okay for a Francophone expression to be considered a Cameroonian expression. People do not need to lose their intrinsic personality because they are Cameroonians. Cameroon has this diversity, and all of us are bringing something on board to make this country great. And so it is important that we value and respect the contributions that people are bringing on board, and to
So
make sure that people
is that saying that they'll be released? Are you
Cameroon.
going to release them since you said that you wanted to
Very
engage,
important
involve
point.
everyone in
Very important
dialogue?
point. Yeah, I'm going to, this is something that the other candidates are saying also. We've all said we're going to release these prisoners. Everybody is saying this. And I think we have to release these prisoners. One of the things that they are waiting for is that they be released because they feel that it was unfair that they were jailed for their opinions. And this is a political question. The Anglophone crisis is different from Boko Haram, which we'll talk about, because it is, first of all, a political question before being a security one. Boko Haram, on the other hand, it's a security problem. And so we need to get, people to discuss, to address, the political issues that are associated to the Anglophone crisis and really
Yeah, since
resolve
you,
it.
since you have said that the Anglophone crisis is different, what, like someone who comes from the northwest region of Cameroon, we've talked about it already. What do you believe the people truly want?
People want, in terms of really, if you see we should pass through a federal system, but the federation is basically like what we had in the 1960s, where Augustine Gomjua was not respected by Ahidjo, and that is not what we are looking at. We want a federation. This is my own personal opinion, but I think as a candidate, I have the right to this opinion. We want a federation where people are respected and valued. If we belong to a union, and that was a union that brought people together, people should be respected for what they brought in. People should not lose their intrinsic personality, like I said, because they have become Cameroonians. It's something that we need to be able to contemplate and think about a new way that we can live as Cameroonians. I'm proposing something, not to say it's a federal, like the Great Republic of Cameroon, for example, it's called Great Britain. The Great Republic of Cameroon, like Great Britain, has different components that are, structurally independent. They make their decisions in Scotland, in England, and in Wales. They're different. You have people can do that, but they have one country called the Great Britain. We can apply the same model here. The Great Republic of Cameroon would be, a federal state that has different components that can make their decisions locally, and that can actually each take charge of their development. This is what we have. I think I'm hearing from the ground, and I'm not saying that this is the final thing. I'm just saying that this is a proposal that I'm making, but the final thing is going to come out from a national dialogue, a dialogue that Cameroon engage in sincerely and are able to come to a decision. that this is what we want, and once they do that, I'm going to accept everything that comes out from there as the way forward.
That's interesting. Just to tell you that nearly 500 people are watching from different social media platforms, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And I can see a lot of comments. I'm not ignoring your comments and your questions. I can see them. Please send them so that we can also present the questions to Mr. Ateki. But we also have a lot of issues that we want him to address as well. So we also prepared a lot of questions, and we don't want to spend the whole evening talking. So, Mr. Ateki, you talked about releasing political prisoners, but also the criminal justice system in Cameroon is a big problem. The prisons are overcrowded. People are in jail for so many years, even awaiting trial. They never know when their case will appear in court. What are you going to do to kind of solve this mass incarceration without trial, which is a big problem in Cameroon?
The challenge with the justice system is that it is not independent. That is the first thing. Our justice system needs to be strengthened so that it can maintain its independence. The fact that a judge who is involved in a particular case will be suddenly transferred by the executive so that they remove their influence from that particular case, doesn't guarantee security of tenure, and I think it's something that needs to change. We also have telephone justice. It's a phenomenon that is so common in our justice system. Somebody is, being tried, but you have a call that comes from some high-ranking individual to say, this is how you're going to judge, this is how you're going to do it. And so people don't perceive the justice system as being fair enough. And this has to change. I think when we get on board, what we're going to do is to make sure that the three arms of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, can maintain the proper checks and balances that are required and are necessary in a democracy. And I think this is one thing that has been quashed in Cameroon for too long. There's a super presence of the executive and the other, parliament that is supposed to make laws, for example, doesn't have that capacity. No individual member bill has passed in parliament for as far as anyone can think about. It's the government that prepares laws in Cameroon. I know that there are technical questions and administrative questions around, law reforms, but Parliament is supposed to legislate. That is one of its functions. The justice system is supposed to deliver justice to people. The fact that you have so many people involved in, pre-trial prison that has the capacity of 15,000, hosting 30,000 people. And people are sleeping like the days of slavery, where they pack them in ships and shipped it to the West Indies. It is not okay for a justice system that is worth the name of a justice system. You find people whose court cases are adjourned, sometimes for 4, 5, 6 years, and they already served the time, and then they come and sentence them for 6 months in prison when they have spent 5 years of their life. I remember the case of a journalist. I think you should probably know him, Paul Chuta, for example. He was imprisoned in Cameroon, and he was there for 24 months, and then he was sentenced for about, after he spent 24 months, he was sentenced to I think just a period shorter than the period he stayed in jail.
He had already outlived his sentence. Yeah, his time in prison. That's right.
Those people just spend time in prison for nothing. When and this is one of the things we're proposing. We're saying that, especially for cases that concern corruption, the duration of those investigations and judgment will never supersede 1 year. Any case relating to corruption in Cameroon cannot supersede 1 year without a judgment. But today, for example, you have people who are in jail for corruption cases, who've just been forgotten there, and who really knows when they're going to come out. So this is kind of thing
and because of that, most of the prisons are very, 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 very crowded. But let us come now to the. Okay, you wanted to say something.
No, I'm just saying about the congested prisons and the health conditions of the prisoners. People are dying in jail. You see people even still sick in jail. Some are losing their sight. Some are losing. So I think justice is not to kill people or to punish them. It is a rehabilitation. It is to reform people. That is the purpose of justice. It is not to punish people and kill them. And so you find the kind of cruel treatment that prisoners will go through. I mean, some of them are sick, but they are still chained to their hospital beds. I mean, you ask yourself, what kind of treatment do we give like this? I know that some of them really who are there deserve to be there because of, the kind of crimes that we've also seen being committed in our cities and
So,
crimes.
Mr.
So,
Iteke, is just to hint you a little bit that there's one topic that I am seeing coming over and over, the same question being asked in the comment section about coalition. Many young Cameroonians, even in the Anglophone regions of the country, are very interested in the election, but they are more and more interested in opposition coalition. So get ready because I'm seeing a lot of questions in that regard. But before we
right.
get there, so please continue to follow because in the next 5, let's say 4 or 5 minutes, we'll be talking opposition coalition or 3 minutes. But also Cameroon is drowning in debts, over 14,000 billion francs CFA. What's your concrete plan to pull the country out of this financial hole?
So, I mean, the debt burden is very, very, very heavy. When it comes to public financing or finances, there are four things. You have the revenues, you have the expenses, you have the what they call in French the sole budget here, the budgetary balance, right? And then you have the debt. These are four things. And so when the revenues fall far short of the expenses of the state, then you have what they call the source becomes a negative one. So the negative balance that you have, and then just and what that we have becomes the negative balance that we have accrued for many years, and so people go to different institutions internationally. For example, I mean, today we go. How do you explain that we go to the IMF to borrow money to pay salaries? It is not acceptable. And when you look at this and you feel that we should rather borrow for many of the different investment projects that could be necessary to take off our country, it becomes really, really challenging to get people to I mean to really be able to live up to the basic minimum living standards. The first problem with debt in Cameroon is that it is very expensive. Debt is expensive in terms of the fact that the kind of interest rates that we pay every year just to be able to start honoring our debt obligations is very, very high. And so this is one of the things you find people paying, I mean, 26 billion, 36 billion, I mean, to reset just for interest rates, interest on the principal. And now we have even the kind of conditions in which we get debts from different institutions. Some of the debts are very, very, interest rates are above market level interest rates. Some of the loans that we get are concessional loans, sometimes from the IMF and World Bank. But what we're proposing is that sometimes we don't really get a fair share of the treatment that we want to get from international borrowing institutions. The credit rating system, for example, the Standard and Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch, when they rate us in Africa, we have poor ratings, which make it very difficult for us to access international loans. Or when we access them, they give us exorbitant rates because they're afraid of the ratings that we've had from different international rating agencies. That is why they're even saying now that there should be an African rating system, which also rates African countries, taking into consideration our local reality.
Yeah.
And so it helps with the whole debt issue because sometimes it is not just that debt is bad, but it is the burden, it is the payment that we get, the repayment that we get on this debt that just makes it very difficult. The interest rates are too high. We prefer, and this is why people like the president of Kenya and Cyril Ramaphosa had advocated recently about redefining the international financial architecture to say that Africa gets mistreated within. There are a lot of conditionalities whenever we even get the loans from there. A lot of conditionalities. We have to be able to streamline the public sector. Get to bring down our revenues and devalue them in order to meet certain economic obligations or macroeconomic reforms that they want us to carry. I think that what we need to do is really take a look at this international financial architecture to make sure that it is fair for African states, that it is giving us, I mean, we can even, there are actually some negotiations right now to advocate for a 50-year moratorium, like a 50-year extension, of debt with a 20-year period grace period where African countries can be allowed to restructure before they can get the proper economic, robustness to be able to repay these loans. This is what advocacy is looking at. But I feel that at the moment, what we need to do is to make sure that we can try as much as possible to even when we borrow, the money should not be people corrupt. There's a lot of stealing of money. People actually get to borrow money to invest in projects, but those projects are never off the ground.
Executed, yes. So that's a big problem. Because of that, we have bad roads in Cameroon. Because of that, we have joblessness. Because of that, there's poverty in Cameroon. Young people go to the university, but they are not guaranteed of jobs. Even the educational system is a problem at the level of the university. People will even have a master's degree. They will become even doctors, professors, but still access to job opportunities is a big problem in the country. But before we look at job creation and minimum wage, I want us to go to the far north region where we have the Boko Haram war. It's affected the economy as well a lot there. I just want to know, what is your plan for the Grand North?
The Grand North has problems that are not just only limited to Boko Haram. They have many challenges. When you look at the socio-demographic indicators from this section of the country, compared to the rest of the country, they're not very admirable. The living standards are very, very lower compared to the rest of the country. Access to basic necessities such as water and electricity, difficult. It looks like it's a totally different kind of country. Neglected and facing security. People are creaking under the strain of Boko Haram for so long today. And we have had a very ineffective, approach to resolving the problem. Number one thing that I would do is to really beef up the security system, because I think it's a security problem. First of all, it's a security problem before being maybe a violent extremism one. It is a security problem. That is why we must combat every enemy, every foreign enemy that attacks Cameroon, that violates our national integrity, must be combated. So Boko Haram is foreign. What we will do is we have to strengthen our military and make sure that the military has the tools and the equipment and the techniques needed to be able to eliminate and combat and eliminate Boko Haram once and for all. This is one of the things that needs to be done, and we can partner with the different kinds of partnerships that are existing right now. There is the Lake Chad Basin. I know that some countries are withdrawing from there, but we can actually collaborate. If we, Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, they collaborate around this. Boko Haram it can be contained. So it is not a real.
But also, you talked about inefficiency when it comes to the security apparatus in the far north, in the northern regions. But recently, we just published a report that was talking about a massive attack that took place not far from Mora, which is one of the main towns in the far north. And not far from where the attack took place is a huge military base, the multinational joint task force base that has been there for many years to fight Boko Haram insurgency. What explains that, and where do you think the problem is? Because you're talking about beefing security and making sure that the security that is in place is more efficient. This is already a joint task force. Where is the problem, and what would you do differently?
When you look at the tactics that Boko Haram uses, they are more guerrilla, not the conventional tactics of war that regular armies would engage in. They're more guerrilla tactics, surprise, but then their equipment are also getting sophisticated. The question also is, where are they getting this equipment from? It's a question that must be sincerely asked and frankly, because I know that the spillover of the conflict from Libya and the proliferation of arms and small arms and light weapons across the desert into these conflict hotspots has actually exposed these groups to have weapons that are very sophisticated, and these are used in guerrilla fashion. So sometimes it's very difficult to get these people. But I think what we need to do is to be able to strengthen the local security apparatus. It's basically working. There are different kinds of vigilante groups that have been set up. For example, in the north, what we can do is really strengthen these groups and make sure that they have the relay mechanism to have like a 24 on 24 surveillance, along the different areas.
Yeah.
Yes, that one is very, very crucial because it is human beings. It is sometimes they also work with local people who they're one to the philosophies. It's an ideological thing. Sometimes people just believe that what the leaders of Boko Haram are saying is right, and so we must believe in them. But I think we need to be able to make sure that we also challenge this from this kind of narratives. It is something that has to, first of all, occur in the mind. Our young people need to be educated in the north there to know that they're not supposed to be recruited into Boko Haram in order to, have $50 or 100, because some of them are going there because of poor conditions, because they have, they are promised for free. There's when you fight with us, you're going to get this. We are going to be able to make sure that we can improve these living conditions. It's a development issue also. Develop the place, get people to have jobs, get people to have responsible, activities that they do to carry on their livelihoods. I think nobody would really have time to be recruited by Boko Haram and so on. I think it's also a thing where people go in there to survive. So you must combat it militarily, but it's not the only solution. You also must look at the development of the place and just make it far enough. I would say an El Dorado. Develop the place. It has a lot of touristic potential. I mean, if you look at the lowlands, you look at the agricultural potential in that zone. So the Cotonou is a shadow of itself today. Rice that used to be
For
farmed in
43 years, the far north region has become the shadow of itself, just like many tourist sites that existed in Cameroon before have never been developed. It's really, really a big problem. And because of that, if these areas were developed, like you're saying, maybe there would have been job opportunities, maybe there would have been things would have been different and economically in Cameroon. But like I said, nearly half of the population in Cameroon lives in poverty. Youth unemployment staggering. What is your roadmap to job opportunities, job creation, and economic dignity, especially for those young people who are watching you now? They want to hear what you have
So,
to say with regards to access to job, employment, also alleviating poverty.
so we have in the program an agenda to create 100,000 jobs by 2030, and these jobs are actually going to be jobs in the blue economy, in the green economy, jobs, around entrepreneurship. There's even a special program that I call Tuwumbi. Tuwumbi is actually, it means, my dialect, it means let's move forward. And it's a special program that we really be able to get specialized, young people specialized in IT, in IT, in AI, all of these new technologies. We will have to be able to make sure that Cameroon can fit itself in that space and can take leadership there by moving forward with the rest of the world. Now, this was just to say this is what we have, but in order to be able to resolve the problem with jobs, you must understand where the problem is coming from. Unemployment in Cameroon today is a big phenomenon. You see the figures that the government publishes out there, 3 point something percent unemployment. It is a laughable thing. Why? Because, what is even more critical is what we call underemployment, where people are overqualified and they're getting to just make a living out of anything that they can see to just survive. There are people today who are in disguised unemployment. They are working, but they're in disguised unemployment. Why? Because the salaries that they make at those jobs don't even permit them to make, have a standard of living that is worth anything. So this is something that needs to be resolved. It's a structural problem, first of all, because the kind of educational training that we have, when people leave from school with master's degrees, with first degrees, and all of that, no enterprise wants to recruit them. So there's this mismatch between the skills that people leave from school with and what the enterprise wants. And once there is this mismatch, you find that a lot of people would find themselves outside the job market, even though they are qualified, and it's a problem. So it being a structural problem, we then need, therefore, to reform our education to make sure that we are actually preparing people to be employable. Because for somebody to say they're not employed, they must first of all be qualified before they don't have a job. You cannot just have no qualification or skills and you say you're not employed. So we want to make our young people qualifiable, employable, before then you can, and so they can actually be able to get, jobs in the labor market. Now, the other thing about, employment is that underemployment makes a lot of people to, face just a lot of challenges with making, today when you go to the market, for example, the prices are so high. Basic products, basic necessities, that people will go without food in this country, but people are working. I was actually talking to people when I went, for example, at the state treasury to make some requests. There's some people like, you want to be a presidential candidate? Let me tell you my story. I am actually working here, but I'm overwhelmed. I cannot be able to meet up all my, anything. Like I work here, but I'm not able sometimes
to
come back here in the morning and to make sure that I can actually send my kids to school, or they are really suffering. I mean, these are stories that people who work are telling me. And when I hear this, I really feel sad because, you start seeing how you're working, but the value of your money is not there. So one of the things that we're seeing as a major economic...
That also affects productivity a lot.
Yes,
so you also talked about minimum wage.
Pre-1990 level is one of the things that we're saying, to bring salaries back to the pre-1990 level, where at least salaries represented some things. One of those things that we're going to be working on, the 5-year plan, to be able to make sure that we can bring back salaries to that pre-1990 level in terms of the value of and the worth of those salaries. Yeah.
So for minimum, when it comes to minimum wage and minimum social package, what exactly will every Cameroonian be guaranteed under your leadership? Just briefly.
Okay, the question about the minimum wage is the minimum wage is something that is deliberately set by the government. I think today we're at 60,000 francs. It was just recently 40-something thousand francs, and was raised to 60,000. The thing with unemployment or with employment is that you must first agree that this is the minimum amount of money that somebody should earn before you can consider them employed. And so when the government lowers the minimum wage, the idea is to make sure that anybody who can earn that low can be considered employed in Cameroon, even if the money doesn't mean anything, for the carrying on, of their daily lives. And so we will try as much as possible to review this minimum wage up, but this must be done in tandem with other economic reforms. You cannot just raise salaries. You cannot just raise.
So you don't know. So you don't know exactly how much. So far,
no. Right now we are at 42. I think recently it was at 42,000, but I mean, last year was at 42,000, but it was recently changed. The Minister of Labour and Social Security mentioned, I think recently, the figures are not very clear because sometimes the information is conflicting. But right now, I think it's anything less than, it doesn't really represent, 60,000 francs doesn't really represent something that a Cameroonian can really live within a city like Yaoundé, where everything, just the rent, transport to your work, job site, what you eat, I mean, it doesn't represent anything. So we must be able to make sure that Cameroonians can have living wages that can permit them to cope even with the inflation and so on. For the minimum social package that we are proposing, it is that for every local community in Cameroon, they should have access to these 5 basic things: water, electricity, roads that are practicable every season, hospitals and schools. These 5 things are things that we are going to orientate the action of municipal councils to provide in every community. Every community must have that. And we would actually make budgetary allocations designed to make sure that people can have all of just these 5 things provided. This minimum, this is what we call it, minimum social package for communities. They should have it because it is not acceptable that there are communities today where roads, they have been cut off from the rest of the country. The roads are not practicable. We have communities where electricity is basically a forgotten alternative. Nobody really knows, nobody talks about that. And so people are just basically struggling to adapt to, solar, and all of these new ones. We are going to actually make sure that we can get the new actors into the electricity sector, and they can even provide, different kinds of solutions, including green solutions, like, solar, for example, in local communities, and supply them. I've seen this kind of things work. For example, in Lesotho, I've been there. There's a company in America that came to Lesotho and actually had a small community powered with what they call one power. It's a one power, solar energy production, and it's able to power a whole community. The airport in Lesotho is actually powered by solar. So it's something that I think we could model and make sure that we can actually get constant power supply in our different communities. It's possible. We need hospitals in our communities. We need schools. I mean, these are basic things that we are going to make sure that every community in Cameroon has through orienting the budget of local councils and even the elected regional governors that they're proposing can actually be. They have a general commissariat in charge of emergence that focuses its action on providing these basic necessities to Cameroonians. If every city in Cameroon, every village in Cameroon has access to water, electricity, roads, hospitals and schools, we will not have problems with education. We will not have problems with people even connecting to the internet and charging their phones and connecting with loved ones and so on.
Oh,
This
I'm
is what
happy
builds the
that you
country.
mentioned internet connectivity. Cameroonians are fed up actually with being overcharged for data that vanishes in a day. I was just
Exactly.
speaking with my mother-in-law, and she was telling me that I don't understand why I will put data on my phone and then the next day I don't have data anymore, whereas I paid a lot of money. So it's not just because she might not know her way around it, but also because she's not the only one complaining that data just vanishes the next day. So would you be able to hold the telecom companies accountable? And how are you going to do that?
So, I mean, there is a lot of work that is being done with the Agence Nationale de Régulation des Télécommunications ANTIC, actually to coordinate work with the telecom companies. You have MTN and Orange, and I mean, the struggling Nextel and so on. But I think Camtel today basically is able to moderate internet access by being the main supplier to the different kinds of companies that are producing supplying internet services in Cameroon. What we're going to do is engage in a dialogue with these different suppliers to see that we can actually get their rates lower. They can actually get their different different kinds of supply services.
So I can hear one sound. I don't know where it's coming from. Is it from your end?
I think we need to be able to get.
Is the noise from your end?
I think it's coming from the area.
There's one noise coming. If our technicians can look into that, because it could interrupt this live stream.
Yeah. So
I am not sure where it's coming from. Yeah, I can still hear the noise. I'm not sure. Okay, so yes, we don't want to keep our viewers waiting. The conversation is very, very interesting. If you can hear this sound from where you are watching from, just tell us in the comment section. If not, I think everything is fine. It just stopped. Okay, so we'll continue our conversation with it started again. I'm not sure. Mr. Douglas, can you hear the noise again? Okay, good. We activated one background noise. Now it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. So we are having Mr. Ateki back.
We can get
Hello,
your
Mr. Ateki. Yes, you've come closer. Yes.
Right. Is that the other man is manipulating from his end?
Okay, no, it's okay.
For those who are following the conversation, we want to thank you so much for your patience. We are enjoying Mr. Ateki so far. He's been able to outline what he will be proposing or doing for Cameroon in terms of providing job opportunities for young people, people across Cameroon, particularly those in the far north region of Cameroon. He's talked about the Boko Haram conflict, the Anglophone crisis. He's talked about access to education. He says that he's going to be one of his 5 major, basic, he called them, let me be very, very specific how he described it. He said it was his minimum social package: education, access to electricity, hospitals, potable water, and also he's going to provide jobs to many Cameroonians. So he was basically talking about also internet connectivity, and he was saying that so he is going to see how to provide better internet connections to Cameroonians. So we have a few more questions. I'm sure he is finalizing setups from the setup from his side. We will now have to move to other major issues like opposition coalition in Cameroon. Now is a big topic. We've seen many people in the comment section talking about it. If our technicians can now bring Mr. Ateki so that we can talk about opposition coalition, that would be amazing. So, Mr. Ateki, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I mean, I
Yes.
just want to plead to the audience that I'm actually using my phone to do this, so they shouldn't call me. I know some are trying to get to me and say that they're seeing me live, but they shouldn't call me. I'm actually using the phone to be able to make this video, this call right now.
Yes, so Mr. Ateki is now the property of the whole Cameroon. It's no more a private property. So don't call him now, especially when he's addressing Cameroonians. We just have a few more minutes to go, so be a little bit patient. So, Mr. Ateki, I've seen a lot of questions coming in when it comes to opposition coalition. This is the most interesting part for those who are watching, particularly those who have been asking. They are saying that would you support, who would you support if you were not a presidential candidate? That's the first question I saw.
Right. Thank you so much. Actually, there's a lot of discussion right now about the coalition for candidates in Cameroon. I'm sure you saw updates from Fumban yesterday, where even my president was there, to meet the other, candidates who were meeting to discuss this whole coalition thing. So that is something that we definitely are part of. My party has always had a very clear stance on, because we recognize that this is the cry of the moment. The cry of the moment is that there should be a coalition in Cameroon, to be able to make sure that we can go as one united force, in these elections and get the moment and get the victory home. This is the cry of Cameroonians, and I can tell you, Cameroonians, we're hearing you. We hear you on this, and this election is bigger than any of us. It is. I mean, I was not born with the whole thing that God said, before I formed you, I knew you, and you were going to be the president of Cameroon. That is not really the mindset which I go into this with. I go into this knowing that at some point it's a sacrifice to go into an election. It's also a sacrifice to step aside, and so we know that Cameroonians want coalition, and it is something that we are working on to be able to make sure that it can work.
Yeah, but yesterday we didn't see Honorable Joshua Osi. We did not see Issa Shona Bakari and the UNDP leader.
I was not able to go there, but the president of my party. I'm just the candidate of the party. I'm not the president of the party yet. So the president of my party was there. I mean, he was, and he stood in my place among when you look at the pictures that they took, those who stood in front are those who, are the candidates. Actually, there were about 5 or 6 of them there. My president was there, and he was representing me actually as the candidate. So I really just want Cameroonians to know that we were present in those talks, and it's not the fact that they should see my face. My party was there, and my party has a very clear stance to support the coalition. And it doesn't. When we're going to a coalition, we don't go with a precondition to say that we must be the ones to head the coalition. Everyone else, this is what we are trying to make sure that everyone else can get it. If you look at the picture that you're projecting on the screen, the person standing just next to Stomano Damjoya, that's the president of my party. He was representing us there at the party, at the conversation. Now, there is something I would like to say about this coalition thing. It is important for us, the candidates, to coalesce. But what I'm doing now is to turn this question of coalition back to the citizens. We need a citizen coalition. If citizens don't coalesce and come to this election in dispersed rounds, we're not going to get it. It's very, very clear. So it should be a tandem kind of coalition, a coalition of the citizens and a coalition of the political parties, and we will get the victory. If we don't do that...
But in the comment section, because we have been covering this election from the very beginning, in the comment section, the coalition topic keeps coming over and over again. That is an indication that the citizens themselves have already bought the idea. They are embracing it. And they believe that they can only back the opposition if they are working together. That's their opinion. They feel so. Look at 13 candidates seeking to unseat one man who has been there for 43 years. How do they start voting? Who will they vote? Out of the 12 candidates wanting to unseat Biya, who are they going to vote out of the 12 candidates? So it's already a lot of options, votes being divided left, right, center. They should be able to have this unanimous, consensual list or leader that the opposition came together to put in front and say, okay, this is the person that we would want to lead Cameroon going forward. And then they will now just fall behind because the decision comes from... Yes.
Yeah, I would just say quickly that the citizens shouldn't wait for a united 12-party unity stuff. In Cameroon, it is very optimistic to think about it like that. But they should be ready to support a movement, even if it is 6 parties or 5 parties or 6 or 7 that are coming together. They should know that those are the parties that want the interest of the people. And so those ones that are not really, part of there are people definitely that would not like to, to join the initiative. But I can tell you that we are in fully, and we are ready to make sure that we can get the victory on the other side. That is our position, and it's very clear. I'm going to this.
So Mr. Ateki, someone is saying that if this question is coming up, that means that we are ready. So that's Oga Anfield saying that in the comment section. But you are saying that an opposition party is not part of the coalition. It means that they don't want to be part of. So the young people should come and rally behind the ones that are forming the coalition. So are you saying that there are some opposition leaders that are not embracing the coalition idea?
We know that there are conversations that are going on right now. I don't know how the conversations are going on in terms of each and everyone who is a candidate right now. But for the ones that I've participated in, I've not seen more than 6 political parties. I've not seen more than 6 actually coming together. I've been in the coalition conversations also several times. I mean, I've not seen more than 6. So it definitely, maybe it could be a question of logistics that people could not move to join us, or things like that. But I know that the conversations are happening, and Cameroonians should really they should not lose hope. They should continue to count on us. They should know that we have the best interests of the people at heart. And we are doing everything in our power to put aside our egos, to put aside, all of these whole things, and just make sure that we can respond to the people. The power belongs to you, the people. And that is why I'm even urging you to coalesce. Because if you come to us with this election in dispersed rounds, you are weakening yourself too. You're weakening your power. And so you'll be, when they will come and give you, sardine and bread and so on, that's what takes your mind away from an objective, which is actually to make sure that we can bring our country to a place of emergence, to a place where we start laying the foundations for a new country. There are some of us who are willing to do that. I don't know about the others, and I cannot speak for them, but they should know that we are in these talks. It doesn't matter if you see me tomorrow to be the head of the coalition. Know that the others have really taken considerations and are ready to, and you should be ready to support, because there are some people who are saying coalition, but when they say coalition, they want a particular person to head the coalition. That is what some of you are saying coalition, but the coalition must be headed by this person, and any other person who heads the coalition, and it's you're just discouraged. No, I want us to be very open-minded. If parties are coming together and they're saying that we are forming a coalition, and that in that coalition nobody comes to that coalition saying that I must be the one to lead, know that any of us can become the leader. And anyone who emerges from these particular parties that are negotiating to form a coalition, you should be ready to support them. Instead of saying that you want a particular
That's
person
very
to be.
interesting. It's very interesting,
Very,
Mr.
very
Ateki.
important.
If you want the opposition to form a coalition, the young people, the voters in general, they also have to form a coalition and say whatever emerges, whatever come out from the coalition, we should be able to embrace and accept it. I think we've handled the coalition debate. We've looked at also see Bishop saying that no coalition is very clear. No coalition, no vote. No coalition, no vote. It seems like it's going to be the next
We
hashtag
do.
that will be seen in the days ahead. Like no coalition, no vote in Cameroon. I really like that. I'm happy that Cameroonians, for the first time in 2018, we talked a little bit about it, but it was not as intense as now that they are seeing someone who should be resting in the name of President Paul Biya. He should take home that honor and say, I decided to step down from being president of my country when I needed rest, when young people were calling for change. Now he's decided to run again. So young people have decided to take their destinies into their hands, Cameroonians in general. That is why you keep seeing coalition, 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 because without coalition, the votes will be divided. Madame Tomaino
Exactly.
Damjoya, she's got followers. There are people who want to see her rule the country. You've got a lot of followers. People want to see you, your own followers want to see you be the leader. Professor Maurice Kamto, we are still waiting to see at the level of the Constitutional Council. He's got followers. People want to see him be the leader. Barrister Kere Muna, Joshua Osi, they are also having a lot of followers. And we also have from the far north region, from the northern regions, we have UNDP's leader, Benopoba Maigari, and also Issa Shoma Bakari. But if you put your heads, if the goal is to liberate Cameroon, if the goal is to see change, doesn't matter who is at the helm of the coalition. The goal is, if the goal is really deep within you, I'm now speaking as a Cameroonian as well, is if that goal is to see change, the question of who is leading the coalition, the question of who the coalition decided to lead the group, doesn't matter. The Cameroonian population will follow. I can guarantee you that, because we've already been seeing a lot of people in the comment section, and they've actually started the hashtag already, no coalition, no vote. So we should.
It's a tough one there.
I think that's one of the best hashtags. That would be one of the best hashtags that has ever existed.
They would eventually see some form of some form of coalition. I'm not very optimistic to say all of the 12 of us are going to be in it, but I just want to say that there would be some group of political actors that are willing to come together, and they would see that, and I just want them to be ready to support this kind of initiative, and also support them as one man. Don't support us with dispersed ranks by arguing who is supposed to lead and so on. The idea is to be able to bring change in Cameroon, and then the rest of different kinds of debates would happen afterwards. Yeah.
So, Mr. Ateki, we have 2 more months to go. Let's be optimistic that there will be a common ground. There will be a possibility for the different opposition leaders to come together. If the change in Cameroon is what they really want, an opposition coalition is very necessary. But it doesn't take just you alone, Mr. Ateki. I can see you have the desire. It takes the will. The will has to come from across the board. We have 12 more candidates. So let's see what happens in the coming weeks. We are very positive about that. But I also wanted to find out from you about football. Football is both a national passion and a political distraction in Cameroon. There have been times when debates are centered around football. That's how passionate Cameroonians are when it comes to football. It's divided opinions. People have been fragmented people. People belong in different camps when it comes to football, the National Football Federation, and even the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education. How will your administration clean up the sports management and harness it to national unity and economic gain. What will you do differently?
Right. I mean, you can see that there's the passion. And I understand with Cameroonians, because I also see not just Cameroonian football, but also Champions League, which is happening in Europe. But the way Yaoundé is electrified whenever the European teams are playing, so it's something that people really want to see. People enjoy quality football. They want to see Cameroonian football rise to the standard of international football and so on. So, but I think that our football in Cameroon is facing several problems. One is an institutional problem. Which institution is really in control of what? It's something that needs to be reorganized. There's a whole institutional reform process that needs to happen in such a way that you then have things flowing from a structure that is well organized. We know who is taking decisions where. We know who is not taking decisions where, and they should be able to be contented in those roles. Because today, what we find is that there are several people who have overstepped, their legal reach when it comes to certain, situations of decision making around who becomes the coach of Cameroon, how much the team is getting to participate in international, competitions and so on, and even just the neglect of the other sports. Is not just only football, but Cameroon has other kinds of sports. When you look at the Olympic Games, and there are certain kinds of games there, that it looks like it's a white man thing. Cameroonians, when it comes to swimming, when it comes to the other things, it's like, you don't find the sports have become so neglected in our context. So, but there's young talent here. There are people. I mean, I can tell you, there's a young guy I spoke to. He's actually he plays this rugby. He plays rugby actually, a Cameroonian, and he has gone to local, like they just had a game in Gabon where they won. When they came back actually from that game, this guy was given 2,000 francs to pay his transport back home. A player for that matter. When I heard that, I was scandalized. The way that they treat players, even those who win international awards in our context, they come back here, the honors that they're giving them. I mean, it's just. I mean, imagine it is in 2018 or 2019 that some of the promises that were made to the Lions who won in the 1990s were being forgotten. Some of the houses that they promised to give them, it is just as recent as some of them had died. Imagine that kind of thing. So it is important that we kind of reform the institution that governs sport in our country. It is an institutional problem, and it is something that needs to be adjusted to make sure that the different actors within those institutions know their legal reach and they don't overstep certain limits and cross into and lead to conflicting interests where they cross into the responsibilities of others. And the second thing to valorize our sports is to make sure that we can get, to make our local leagues, the local championships, more effective than now. Today, it looks like it's something that if MTN or Orange does not sponsor it, we cannot be able to organize these things. It is just, I mean, we can be able to look for other kinds of ways, other kinds of partnerships that we can get, even private actors, to make sure that we can get other private actors to make sure that we can build, young talent at the local level and pay this talent well and get them to, I think Samuel Eto'o had some very interesting ideas that he shared when he came, into Fika Food, talking about how each, the region is going to have a very international standard stadium. They're going to have TV stations for the crops.
Nothing has really happened.
The needle has not moved, and you start asking yourself, what is really the problem? I think it goes back to
there's a lot of infighting. Politics has become, it's been so chaotic since he became the Fika Food president. But we are hoping that things will change also for the better. Let's move to, if you promise us that you want to come back again, because it looks like the questions want to look at your your industrialization policy and so on. But time also is not on our side because we've already gone beyond the limited time that we had for you. But your foreign policy is kind of juicy. You've taken a hard line against neocolonialism. How exactly will you push back against France's influence without jeopardizing major partnerships that you have with the French government?
Right. So, I mean, I brought up a new concept that I call a coloniality. And the concept was it's my thinking, my philosophy around how I consider these things right now. We are in a post-colonial period that just seems to proceed into infinity, and we don't have an end in sight. So I'm saying that if efforts of decolonization were successful, they should come to an end, and colonization should not have any role again, any impact. So I'm saying that the approach that we're going to use is either we wait for decolonization to end or we provoke its end. And why I'm saying we provoke its end is by ushering in a new era. That's so for me, the whole thing about this election is not just about getting to make sure that we can have transition within the presidency. It is also transitioning from one old era into a totally new era where we become the new references, the references of our own development. We become the people who are the center stage of our own development. And when we know that we are the ones to be at the center of our own development, we are obliged to develop some of the highest standards of human dignity that are necessary to fulfill that ambition. Now, when it comes to our relations with different partners like France and Europe and the United States and China, everyone, I think that we need to come to a place where I've been in some of these high-level discussions. In 2021, I was in Montpellier at the France-Africa Summit. It was a summit that was basically meant as a summit for the re-foundation of the relationship between Africa and France. And I was the spokesperson for Cameroon. I mean, that is an honor that President Ahidjo and President Paul Biya have had before. And for the first time, a young person came on board and was able to speak on these issues. What we proposed was a kind of relationship that is real, a relationship that is thought through, a relationship that is at the service of a shared agenda, a shared positive agenda, a relationship that moves from this logic of dependence to that of interdependence, because we too, as Africans, we have something to offer. We are not just always going out there to beg and to be looked upon as people who have, with the narrative that comes from Africa, is a narrative of conflict, disease, bad governance, all of these things. We have positive things that we too can offer, and I think the new kind of era where we cease to refer to colonial and ideologies and structures is that we now determine what we get, how we get to cooperate with the world. This is normally how it's supposed to be. Imagine a world where there was never any colonialism. How would Africa have related with the rest of the world? There would have been some kind of external relation policy. So for me, I feel that we have reached that point where those colonialism and post-colonial, it has ended. And now we're beginning a totally new period where we are the center of this, at the reference point of decision making of our development policy, and we are going to accompany that with some of the highest standards of human dignity that can be necessary to make sure that we can get to push development, make sure that we are respected. The fact that Africans are treated very poorly across the world, it's not acceptable. We go everywhere. It looks like we must be on the back bench. We must be treated poorly. These things have to end. You
say you want Cameroon to pull out of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. You want Cameroon to pull out of it. So how will you be able to manage the fallout, the implications?
The problem, with the IMF is, the fact that many of the different kind of conditionalities that they associate with the lending programs, the loans that they give, are not very adaptable for many African countries. And this is something that President Ruto has, he mentioned, President Ramaphosa, in the recent advocacy for the review of the international financial architecture, was that some of the ways that these Bretton Woods institutions have carried out their policy of lending to African countries has not been very fair. For example, you can imagine for special drawing rights that the IMF gives, Africa just basically has.
Should Ruto be your point of reference when he's been there are protests every day in his country and he's been asked to resign?
No, I think what he said relating to this financial question was very important. He actually was, and this is something that not just concerns his country, but it is an African question. The way that African countries are, participate in this international architecture, it is something that needs to be re-examined. We need to be able to have greater access to loans. Most African countries don't have access to the loans there because even if they have them with the poorest conditions, they don't have access to them because of the credit ratings. The credit ratings of Standard & Poor's of Fitch and are really so they make it unfair for us. You can imagine that for when we had, for example, just in 2022, when the special drawing rights were approved by the IMF, to help countries, combat COVID-19. Africa had just about 5% of the special drawing rights. It doesn't make sense. When we
Yes,
have challenges.
yes, Mr. Ateki, would want to have you some other time again to expatiate on some of these issues, but we have just about 2 minutes to go. I want the first minute to be, I want us to, for the first minute, I want us to talk about who you are. I mean, your personal life. And then the last 1 minute, the next 1 minute, we should have like a wrap up statement from you. So usually when I receive the presidential candidates, because it's a privilege, we might like after the 12th of October, you could be the president of the Republic of Cameroon. And we want to know what you like, what your hobbies are. Are you married? Do you have children? And what do you stand for as a person? What are the things that you like? What are your principles? So if you could just start with um, um, your hobbies,
Yeah.
whether you're a family man,
I'm a
married with
family.
kids, what you
I'm a
stand
family
for
man.
as a person. That would be great. Yeah.
I'm a family man. I'm married. I have 4 kids. Four
Mhm.
kids. My last daughter is 1 year old. 1 year 3 months old today. And yeah, so we've been married for 10, yeah, close to 10 years today. Yeah, close to 10 years actually. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, and my hobbies. I like to play the guitar. I think in one of my the outings there on my page, I was just sharing some guitar. Because I play in church too. I play guitar in church with the praise team in the Presbyterian Church in Bastos. I often go to church and rehearse and play
So you're
even.
Presbyterian then? You're
I'm a, I'm a
Presbyterian.
I'm a Presbyterian church
Okay,
Christian,
okay, okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, so from what I stand for, I really stand for justice. I really believe that society should be able to build itself on justice. I really like values of integrity. These are things that I really have been able to not. I've been able to practice them also in different kind of settings. Because to run an organization for 10 years successfully, having to do audits, to do yearly programs that are successful, it really shows some level of leadership that that is tested and proven on these things and can be able to move into should be deserves to be given greater chance to express itself. And that is why today, for example, I'm asking Cameroonians, I'm here to serve. Service has been my thing from the very beginning, and I'm here. I'm not here to lead Cameroonians. I'm here to serve them, and service really. Any leader who is not willing to serve, basically, it's not supposed to be in leadership. We need leaders in politics. We don't need politicians in leadership. Because sometimes they come and make promises that.
So we have a brief interruption there from Mr. Ateki. Probably a lot of people trying to reach out because you could hear the phone ringing. But also we see in the comment section a lot of people commenting. I see Aji Azama saying that no puppet leaders in Africa. And I see Bless Mao says that hashtag Ateki 2025. We're already seeing hashtag no coalition, no votes. Please keep those hashtags coming in because we need more of that to maybe create awareness nationally and let the various candidates know that that is what Cameroonians want and that's what they stand for. I'm so impressed to see that many people were already doing the hashtag no coalition, no vote during this discussion. Please also share with friends, share so that this live stream can go as far as possible, so that many people can get to see what Mr. Ateki has got to offer, just like you shared when we received the other candidates. And I also have this comment from Prudence. She says that all countries want change. It doesn't mean we can't tap from beautiful ideas from the past leaders. Yeah, we want to know who the past leaders are. Is it President Paul Biya? Which country? Other African countries, or you mean the context? of Cameroon. We also have Sonyu, who says that we need leaders in politics. We don't need politicians in leadership. Okay. Ferdinand is actually quoting Mr. Ateki. Thank you for doing that for us. And Bishop says that Mimi, your smile, they move me. Oh, please don't be moved. Oh, we just want people that can. We're talking serious issues here, and we want to push the opposition leaders so that they can be able to form a coalition. And then we can start having very, very more serious conversation to see how to move our country forward. And when it happens, you might not see this smile virtually, you will see me smiling also in Cameroon. And I see Ferdinand saying that, thank you, Mimi, you're doing great by this service to us. We want a presidential debate. Are you able to organize one? Some of us will support. Thank you. We will think about it. It's a good idea. We'll think about having like 3 presidential candidates, and it will be about not confrontational, but getting to know what their policies are. So it's something that we can organize, because on road to Etoudi, we don't get confrontational. We make sure we listen to the candidates. We give them that time. That's why we're able to go till 1 hour, 30 minutes into this conversation. We don't know if Mr. Ateki will join, but he already told us that when he's not doing politics, he's playing the guitar. Maybe we would have the chance to listen to his beautiful melody when next he comes to Road to Etoudi. That is going to be an honor for us all. And I see Prudence commenting again, hashtag coloniality, hashtag Ateki 2025. Oga Anfi, I see you say no coalition, no votes. Please keep that hashtag going. And Caleb Ndika says that I would like to have that as well. What are you talking about? And then Douglas says that try to interview President Paul Biya. Of course, we want to interview President Paul Biya, and it depends on him. We've sent out invitations to all the candidates, and even some of the candidates that were not, whose documents or files were not accepted by Elections Cameroon. So we will be bringing them as soon as they say yes. We'll certainly have Barrister Akere Mona. We'll have the names are just Temoinon Damjoya as well. We'll also try to have Sessions Pamatomba, and we'll try to have even President Paul Biya, and we'll have Bello Boba Maigari and Issa Shulwa Bakari. We are trying to work on that, and we will certainly, I know you have a lot of questions to ask. I see some Saha Hemen says that Mimi, the way you are smiling. Because the discussion is got to do with Cameroon and the future of Cameroon, so we have to really stay positive. So what was your take home from today's conversation? What do you think about Ateki's bid to run for post of president? What do you think about the future of Cameroon? What do you think by no coalition, no vote hashtag that we've started seeing just in course of this discussion? That's something that you want to take up. What stands out for you when Ateki was talking? And what do you want to see after October 12th in Cameroon? What kind of change do you want to see? Do you want to maintain President Paul Biya in leadership, or you want someone else? And if yes, who is that person? Mr. Ateki, are you still there? Want to maintain President Paul Biya? We have yes. Welcome back.
Yes, actually.
Someone is listening. I don't know if it's from your end. Maybe the person can just slow down. Yes, thank you. We have
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, we have more than 600 Cameroonians watching, and it seems like they're not going. They were so interested in the discussion. So we just wanted you to give us your closing statement in English and in French. You have 1 minute to do that.
Thank you so much.
What is your message? What is your message to Cameroonians? Okay, so we lost him again. I think he will come back, because it's very important that he he gives us his closing statement before he goes. Hello, Mr. Ateki.
Yes, actually, sorry, I realized I just had like a challenge with the phone there. I don't know, it looks like the battery was not very strong, so it went out. So I just had to kind of switch to another one.
That's
because
fine.
I mean, I must finish what I started to say.
Yes, you must finish what you started. I like that. Yes. So what is your message to Cameroonians? You can say 1 minute in English and in French before we go. Okay, so we lost Mr. Ateki again. Like I said, we could be privileged to have him on board because we still have 2 more months, I think more than 2 months to go. We can have him again when the campaigns are heating up. We can have him to come and tell us about other things that he has seen on the field, other changes that he wants to make. Mr. Ateki, are you there?
I'm sorry. We've got some challenges with the network here. It's good. I think I'm here. I can hear you 5 and 5, and I can see you as well.
Okay, so yes, the floor is yours.
I was just saying that I'm really happy to have had this moment with you and to have shared my vision to Cameroonians. And what I'm saying is that they should just let them be receptive to this message. It's a very positive plan for the country. This plan has the capacity to uplift Cameroon and make the country a very prosperous, happy nation, reconciled nation, peaceful nation. And this, we plan to do it together with you. I always say that it is not my thing, it is our thing. Many of you may not have had a reason to go out and vote, but I'm saying that this year we have our chance. You have a chance to go out and vote for something new. Even the things that we're asking, like I said, the things that we're asking are not going to be given to us. Those things are going to be won at the ballot box. And one way of winning them is really going out massively to vote, so that you can have your when you vote, you're not just voting for a candidate, but you're voting for your society, you're voting for your community, you're voting for your vision. In fact, you're expressing your commitment to yourself and your loved ones, because what you're voting is like what you believe and what you're defending. So a man without a vote is a man without protection. A man who does not vote, or a man or woman who does not vote, is basically leaving the country to go the way it wants, and you're actually betting with the future of the nation. I just want to encourage everyone to come out on October 12th and vote for us, because that is what change in Cameroon would represent. That is what change would mean. So I know that there are many questions that you are asking. Some are related to how new I am into the political space. But what I'm saying is that give us a chance. We have something good for Cameroon, and we will be able to deliver this thing for the benefit of all of us. It is not me. It's not anyone else. It is all of us who are going into it. And let us do this together. Let us win. That when we had our time, we were able to work together as one man, and we were able to give Cameroon a new hope, a new future, a new reconciled nation, a peaceful nation where everyone is happy and can live their lives than they currently do. So I just want to thank you for spending your time to listen to me. And I really appreciate the moment that we shared together. I really want to thank you also, Madam Mimi Mefo, someone I've really admired for a very long time and followed your works online, and even when you were here in Equinox. So just to say, we love you. We thank you so much for giving us the spotlight and to make us to have a way to channel our message, across to the world. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity that you gave, and I look forward to coming back again.
Thank you so much. And you want to speak a bit in French, or maybe another time?
I could say a word in French, a word or two. Je voulais juste remercier tout le monde qui est venu à à cette conversation aujourd'hui. C'était une conversation franche, une conversation qui a des bonnes choses, des bons propos pour le Cameroun. Nous avons un plan économique qui est magnifique, un plan pour la réconciliation de notre nation qui est vraiment, si vous nous donnez la chance, on va le faire appliquer. Et puis, je pense que nous allons passer à une nation qui est une nation en pleine faillite, à une nation émergente dans son vrai sens. Pas c'est ce que nous avons aujourd'hui comme une émergence qui n'est pas sentie, qui n'est pas vue, qui n'est pas perçue, mais une émergence donc on dit seulement dans les médias. Nous voulons passer à une émergence réelle. Nous avons aussi des plans pour la jeunesse, pour l'emploi, pour les femmes, pour notre diplomatie, pour la sécurité, pour tout type de choses qui sont dans notre agenda. Je voulais juste vous dire que le moment venu en octobre 2025, vous nous donnez la chance de faire appliquer cet agenda ensemble, parce que c'est ensemble qu'on va faire ce programme. Ce n'est pas ma chose, j'ai toujours dit, c'est notre chose. Et si c'est notre chose, il faut faire tout pour le défendre. Nous allons descendre très bientôt sur le terrain pour pouvoir commencer à vous engager, à passer notre message, à faire vraiment connaître notre agenda dans les campagnes. Donc, je vous dis, restez à l'écoute. Nous allons passer dans votre quartier dans très bientôt. Et puis, je voulais juste remercier Mimi Mefo de m'avoir donné cette plateforme aujourd'hui de passer mon message. Je voulais juste lui dire félicitations. Et puis, je compte revenir ici très bientôt pour encore parler sur d'autres choses qui sont sur notre agenda. Merci infiniment. Que Dieu bénisse le Cameroun.
Et vous serez de la bienvenue. Merci beaucoup. Et de voir que les candidats, la plupart des candidats que j'ai déjà eu à recevoir sur le plateau parlent le français et l'anglais. Et pour moi, ça doit être une modalité très importante pour choisir c'est lui ou celle qui va gouverner le Cameroun à partir de 12 octobre 2025. Donc, encore merci. Thank you so much, Mr. Ateki. It was a pleasure having you. Seeing that we have young people, we have Cameroonians that have got this huge vision. They know what the Cameroonian society is, what is plaguing the country at the moment, the conflicts from the economic woes, socio-political problems, and they are presenting solutions. All we can do as Cameroonians now is first of all to listen, and then we can shift her and then see how do we take it from there. We still have 2 more months to go. Who are we standing behind? Who are we putting in front of us to say, lead the country, because we are tired of 43 years. It doesn't matter what has happened in the past. Let us look in front and focus on the future, because the future is what we are all striving for. Thank you so much, Mr. Ateki. It was amazing having you, and I can only wish you all the best. Thank you, and stay blessed. And to all of those who have been watching, I can see already like 500, went down to 550, but I see that you're very much interested in this conversation. We want to thank you so much. It was so great to see the conversations, even in the comment section. It's been heated, people sending the hashtags and also people promoting Mr. Ateki. We see that he's got a lot of followers. I can see also people's curious that I can speak French. Yes, of course, I do speak French. And that should be, for me, one of the conditions that we put in place. We want a candidate who can listen to people from the French-speaking parts of Cameroon and understand them, and people from the Anglophone-speaking parts, Anglophone parts of Cameroon, and also understand where they're coming from. Not a candidate who doesn't understand both languages. That should be also one of the conditions. While we are calling for opposition coalition, we should also be ensuring that the candidates are bilingual. Thank you once again, but who am I to say what when it comes to the election? Because the voice, the power lies on you all. I want to also thank the technical team of MMI, the producer, Dan, who has been working day in, day out. It's always very difficult to pronounce his second name. His his name is Dan is better, and also Kingsley Shetter, who is also part of the technical team. The entire MMI crew I want to say thank you, and also to Stella, all those who are putting the graphics together. I really, really appreciate. It's been a wonderful time this Sunday. And for those who took time to join, thank you as well. This is Road to Etoudi. And until we meet you some other time again, it's bye for now.